Welcome back to my channel. Hey, it's been a few days and I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad you're back here too. So welcome and welcome back. Welcome to those who are new to the channel, and welcome back to those who are already part of the family. I'm so glad you're here. Now, as you can see, we're going to be talking about Real Housewives of New Jersey shakeups. And I've got a few sharings that I want to kind of chat with you about and get your thoughts and share my thoughts about what we're thinking is behind the scenes on some of these things, and just what we feel about what's being shared just in general, because there's a lot going on. And if you are a Real Housewives watcher still, like I am, and I think I will continue to be, because I absolutely do love the Real Housewives and watching them, it's clear that they're going through some things. I think all of them are going through a little bit of some things, but I'm here for the ride, and we'll see how things, develop and develop as time goes on. So of course, anything that's coming up with the Real Housewives of New Jersey stuff, I am really intrigued with, because we are nearing the season finale. And quite frankly, I'm hoping we're not talking like a series finale, but we're most certainly getting ready to enter the season finale here really soon, in order to really, I think, get an idea of what could be to come. It's nice to kind of dive into what's being shared thus far of what's happening. So we're going to be talking about Andy's thoughts about particularly a past housewife coming back, being Kathy Wakile, which is actually cousins to Teresa and Joe Gorga, and was actually at some point, I believe, tight with Melissa Gorga and Joe Gorga seasons ago when she was with her sister. We're talking about the snarky comments that were basically shared during a Watch What Happens Live episode where Kathy actually attended, and I actually saw that show firsthand, and even I was like, oof, okay, there's something there. There's definitely a story there. And I think there was something that was brewing over the last few years where there was some kind of disconnect that happened, to where it appears that Melissa and Melissa and Joe possibly are not as close to Kathy and her husband. So I guess we may get more out of that. We'll have to see, considering that Kathy is now moving into the neighborhood, Melissa's neighborhood, that is, there might be something there to dive into a little bit more if she wants to come back. I definitely would welcome it myself. I liked her and her sister. And I think that her and Rosie, they were really quite comical on the show, and had a lot of passion and love, and really just was real. And so I appreciated that, and so I would love to see them come back. I've said this before as well, that I would love to see them come back. So we're also talking about the more, I guess, about the reunion and how that's going to look, doing a bit of refresh on that as well. We're also talking about apparently Andy saying there's going to be a reboot and some faces may be changing, so we're going to get into that. And we're also going to get into Teresa, I guess, being happy, and maybe some other ladies that are also happy with how the format has gone for this actual season finale, without being the typical reunion style. So we're going to go ahead and get into all those stories. I again want to know your respectable thoughts, so please leave those down below in the comment section. And let's go ahead and get into the first sharing, as we are going to be obviously talking about Mr. Andy Cohen. And we're going to get into the fact that he is saying, hey, I need to address these rumors. So according to ET Online, it shares that Andy Cohen addresses the rumors of a possible Kathy Wakile return to Real Housewives of New Jersey. Now, Andy Cohen is providing an update apparently on the Real Housewives of New Jersey and Kathy Wakile's possibly rejoining the show. Could this be the new faces we're thinking about? Now, the host of the Sirius XM's Andy Cohen Live took a moment during this past Monday's episode to address circulating a rumor that Kathy Wakile might return to the hit Bravo show. So, of course, we've definitely got to know what he's got to say about that, because I do believe that Kathy and Rosie was probably the favorites to many people. So let's go ahead and get into that further. All right, we're going to have to move this over. Hold on 1 second. We're having some technical difficulty. There you go. Sometimes the mouse just doesn't want to work out. So there she is. So let's go ahead and keep going. The topic came up after a caller had asked about Wakile's recent appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and whether it signaled her return to RHONJ. Now, Kathy Wakile was a guest on season 2 of RHONJ and a main cast member from seasons 3 through 5, and later appearing as a friend in season 6 and 7. Now, it's funny that you say that, Andy responded to the caller. I wanted to bring this up because I went online this morning and I saw last night on Watch What Happens Live, the doorbell rang and Kathy Wakile had showed up with cannolis. Because if you remember, Kathy was really into the baking, right? Now, the speculation online was that it was some sort of subliminal signal, or we were testing things to see how people responded to seeing her in the clubhouse as a possible return to Jersey. Andy clarified that there was no hidden agenda behind Kathy's appearance. There was no intention behind her visit. Besides seeing an old friend, we wanted to surprise Gary Janetti, who we know loves her and her cannolis. And so we just thought it would be fun if we had a, vintage housewife come through the door. He added, everyone is speculating that it was kind of a soft launch to getting her back. We haven't even started talking about next season. We want this one to end, let it sit, and then we will go into it. But thank you. She did get a lot of love. I will tell you that. And she got a lot of love. Again, as he reiterated. Now, E.T. had previously spoke to Melissa Gorga, and I actually did a video previously, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, where I talked about that, and it was early this month, where she was at the New York premiere of Tyler Perry's Divorce. Her and Joe were Divorce in the Black, and she addressed shakeup rumors amid a 10th season with castmates Teresa, Dolores, Margaret, Jennifer, Danielle, and Rachel. Now, she says, I agree with Bravo that there needs to be changes. I agree with that 100%. She had told E.T. I think things have gotten really toxic. There are 2 of my castmates that have played really dirty behind the scenes, and it's coming out. It's all coming out. Because it always rises to the top. It always comes out of the laundry. It's been years, so it's all coming forward. Should the cast get revamped next season, Melissa, who had no direct contact with her sister-in-law Teresa in season 14 amid their dramatic fallout, says she's prepared for anything. She says, whatever Bravo decides to do is fine with me, she told E.T. back in May when she did that actual interview. I don't make demands. I come to work. I have a very strong relationship with the show. So I feel like whoever they decide to cast or not cast, I'm fine. And in my own lane with my own family and my own kids, and I'll deal with it when I have to deal with it. And she did basically reiterate those words on a previous Watch What Happens Live episode that I think happened last week. Now, last month, news had broke that there will not be a traditional reunion, as we all now very much know, at the end of season 14 of RHONJ. Andy Cohen revealed on SiriusXM's Reality Check with Kiki Monique that producers made the shocking decision after watching the season finale, which he described as a conclusion and a reunion all rolled into one. He says, I think that the main thing is this will all make sense once you see the finale. It is one of those classic Jersey finales that people will be talking about for a long time to come, he said. When all of us producers saw the last cut of the finale, we all came to the decision separately and then we talked. It's in the great tradition of absolute shocking dramatic Jersey finales, and they have this final epic group encounter, which is like, it feels like The Last Supper, and it's just so Jersey, Andy said. And it's shocking, and it's dramatic, and it's amazing TV. I'm telling you, when you see it, I think you will feel complete. I really do. Now, the Watch What Happens Live host went on to promise that there will be something Bravo is cooking up in a place of reunion. And so that is to be announced, which we now know that they're doing a bit of a sit down at that restaurant where the ladies are going to be in separate rooms. And we'll get a little bit more into that refresher later for those of you who may not be fully aware of that. So Melissa had hinted at that as well when she told that in her interview with ET on Monday, as well. She says, we are going to end up doing something. You guys will see something to kind of piece it all together. It won't be a full-blown reunion, but I am sure there will be something. For now, Melissa and her husband, Joe Gorga, are focusing on spending time together. They did just that at the premiere, where Joe proudly snapped pics of his wife with whom he tied the knot with back in 2004. They've been together a really long time. She's amazing. Joe, brother to Teresa Gush. Look how beautiful she is. Love to capture, or I like to capture these moments. We like to make memories. We create the memory. We save the memory, Melissa added. One day we're going to be in our rocking chairs at 80 and be like, remember when I looked good? And we were at that Tyler Perry movie premiere. We want to remember these things. And yes, one thing that is for sure, when without a doubt, is Joe absolutely, as well as Melissa, but we're speaking on Joe for right now in this moment, absolutely loves me. He absolutely loves his wife. Whatever and all that's going on, he is there in support. And as a husband, that is how you should be in your relationship. A wife should be the same, right? Whoever in the relationship, you should be there for whoever your spouse is. So I enjoy their banter back and forth and just the love that they show. It's fun, and it's always seemed to be really consistent, to be honest. And I'm glad we haven't had those moments of anything else between them. We've heard things on the outside, but we had not seen those moments with them, and I appreciate that. Well, very little one season, but that didn't go over very much, and it was just really boiled down to just being an argument. So let me know your thoughts about that. I mean, what do you think about a potential Kathy coming back on the show? Do you think that having a new face of another family member, entrenched with their situation is a good thing? Now, again, Kathy was on the show before, and we got to see a little bit of the family dynamic for them, and it was a bit hard to watch her and be at odds with Teresa as well. Teresa and Joe, her first husband at the time. It was hard to see that. But one thing about New Jersey that I really appreciate, though, is the family connection, the family surrounding in the show, and it's actually did yield some really great times, actually, and some great moments for the show. So let me know your thoughts on that. So now we're going to move on to the next sharing, and love when it jumps up. And we are going to be talking about Melissa Gorga reacts now to Kathy Wakile's petty comments that she stay on your side of the street. Now, this is connection to what was said on Watch What Happens Live. So let's go ahead and get into the quick sharing from Bravo.com. It says the RHONJ cast member says she was taken aback when her former castmate seemingly rejected an olive branch. Now, a reunion between Melissa Gorga and Kathy Wakile seems pretty unlikely at this point, and the former is completely okay with that. The Real Housewives of New Jersey's mom addressed the subject in a recent episode on Display, a podcast series that she co-hosts with her husband, Joe Gorga. About halfway through the conversation, Melissa had mentioned that in the July 14th episode of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, in which Kathy suggested she had no interest in reconciling with Melissa or her cousin Joe, despite recently moving into their neighborhood. I felt like she had a little negative attitude when asked about us, Melissa had said about Kathy's surprise Watch What Happens Live appearance. She mentioned something like, well, there's acres. These houses are on acres, so we probably won't see them anyway. I was a little taken aback. Yeah, so was I, because I didn't know there was a feud brewing. At least that's what it felt like. Now, Melissa says she recently hoped to mend ties with Kathy. Melissa had previously touched on their fallout during a June appearance on Jeff Lewis Live, which I knew nothing about. So if you knew about that, drop that down in the comment section. She says it was confirming that Kathy had just purchased a home down the street from where she lived. The Jersey mom seemingly welcomed the move, suspecting it could mark a new chapter between her and her former friend. She says, I secretly hope that Joe and Kathy are like walking down the street one day and like bump into each other, because at the end of the day, Kathy's a good person. Now, Kathy suggests she isn't interested in repairing her friendship with Melissa. Kathy was asked about the comments during her aforementioned WWHL appearance, saying it was very convenient that Melissa was trying to bury the hatchet. Now, host Andy had said it would be good for Melissa and Kathy to be friendly neighbors. However, Kathy implied she had no intentions of interacting with the Gorgas. Not to be boastful, but each property is at least an acre or 2 acres, she said, so you really don't see each other. Mm-hmm. The shade is real. Now, Melissa clarifies her comments about reconciling with Kathy. Now, she says, although Kathy didn't explain what she meant by convenient, some suspected she was alluding to Melissa's years-long feud with RHONJ's Teresa Gucci, who is also Kathy's cousin. Melissa pushed back on that theory, insisting her comments on Jeff Lewis Live had nothing to do with her family drama on the show. Now, Kathy revealed the latest on her kids and what she's been up to since RHONJ. She says, what I said on Jeff Lewis Live was what I thought very nice, a way of moving forward in some which way. And it wasn't like a, hey, I want you on the show or I want you back in our lives, Melissa explained. It wasn't really what I was saying. I was saying, well, it would be nice if we live on the same street and there are two cousins living on the same street and they bump into each other. It would be really nice to have them talk and work it out and talk it out. She continued. That's basically what I was saying to Jeff Lewis on his podcast. Listen, these are real cousins, and that's me extending an olive branch. But you know what? You're lost. Stay on your side of the street. All good. I tried to say something nice. I don't think I like the attitude. I'm like, it's weird. And we haven't seen her in a very long time, so I just thought it was a little petty. It was a little petty. Let's be for real. And obviously, whatever happened between them two, it's obviously long-standing. And I really wish I knew more about it. And it would have been interesting for it to play out on the show because so much was played out on the show, if you recall. But apparently, it doesn't seem like there's any reconciliation happening anytime soon. But, I think it's one of those things also that we should kind of just stay tuned. So we'll just do just that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next sharing. And we know who we're talking about now, right? Miss Teresa herself. And we're talking actually about the fact that she is happy about the RHONJ's new reunion format. So let's get into that a little bit. Now, she says, you will see the truth. And this is something that we have been seeing if you've been watching and, following along with the episodes. She's been very, very outspoken within the season about the truth is going to be out there. And the truth is going to be connected to the things that were bombshells at the end of season 13's finale at the reunion, if you recall, that apparently there was some undercover detective, private investigator work at hand by which was alleged by Louis' hand, that he was getting into gathering information on all the castmates so that way they could kind of just strike at any time. And it was supposed to humiliate them or whatever it was going to do. Of course, it seemed like a lot of those efforts were put into play. And so some of those things came out and played out onto the show. And in the reunion in particular, one that was real poignant that spoke about a lot in this season that you may be aware of if you're watching is the situation in which apparently Louis had someone reach out to Margaret Joseph's son at his job, and apparently there's some threatening stuff going on and just all kinds of crazy. And so that's obviously a no-go. You don't mess with the kids, right? And so at the end of the day, whether they're adult or not, but at the end of the day, it's been very much a point of contention. And I feel like along with that and other realizations is what Teresa is alluding to. So let's get into a little further about her really happy way of feeling of the ways things are going on, because in her mindset, we're going to see something. So we're going to be here for that. Now, the Bravo star and her fellow New Jersey housewives, Jennifer Aydin and Dolores Catena, opened up to people about closing the door on season 14. So I think that everybody, which seems to be a consensus, that they were happy that this season had played out to, kind of come to an end, because it was hard. It was rough, to say the least. Now, the future of the Real Housewives of New Jersey might be up in the air, but Teresa, Dolores, and Jennifer Aydin are all at least happy how it ended. Now, people caught up with the trio in the Hamptons on Saturday, July 20th, where they were among the stars in attendance at a men's skincare presents Jill Zarin's, you remember her from Real Housewives of New Jersey previously, luxury luncheon by Le Fin, and ticket to events benefiting the Bobby Zarin, which is her husband who has passed away, Memorial Trust, which was held at the Southampton Inn. Their appearance came nearly a week after they had gathered at Rail Steakhouse in Tawaka, New Jersey, for the filming of the season's unofficial reunion. As people previously reported, fractured relationships within the cast inspired the network to cancel the traditional reunion in favor of a filmed viewing of the finale on Monday, July 15th, without the presence of Housewives executive producer and host Andy Cohen. The group was split, which we definitely got to see, which I find it to be just really upsetting, honestly, because it felt like there was no real closure to much of anything. Now, the group was split into two, with Jaducci and Katana and Aiden and friend Jackie Goldschneider in one room, and co-stars. Let's pull them up here real quick. I don't know if you saw that glitch there. Here we go. And here's, so this first pick here was all the first ladies, basically. So I add Miss, okay, here we go. Here we go. Gotta love technology, don't you? So here we're seeing the first group of ladies in one room, and then this is going to be the second group here. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. Now, the next room set of co-stars will be Melissa Gorga, Margaret Joseph, Danielle Cabral, Rachel Fuda, and Jen Fessler in another. Now, while the day may have looked different this year than usual, Teresa and Dolores and Jennifer Aiden say they like the new format. I'm going to say they lived for the moment. They like the new format. They said, I was happy with it. Teresa 52 says, the viewers are going to have to see how it all plays out. I can't give it away, but I feel good with it. We are all happy with it, adds Dolores. To be honest, we were all okay and left saying, well, I don't want to ruin it for the fans, but it's worth the wait. Now, Jennifer Aiden was equally pleased. I didn't have to see anybody I didn't like or that I'm not getting along with, she says. It was quite pleasant. Amongst ourselves, we all aired our grievances and our gripes, and we all communicated. It wasn't the fighting that you usually see, and the fans are as sick of the fighting as I am, even though I feel that Jennifer definitely likes to stir the pot on that. So I think they're going to love it. Asked if there will be a resolution, Aiden notes that that's not always the goal. But that's interesting. She says that because I remember a few reunion shows where that really was exactly the goal, to have some kind of resolution, to end some feuding and things that just didn't make any sense anymore. It was definitely prevalent and spoke about in the Real Housewives of Potomac. I believe that there was also maybe a bit of conversation with that when it came to Atlanta. There always seems to be, that needs to be the goal. It definitely was brought up in the Orange County season of last year as well, about what the goal is, to kind of bring things to fruition and get to a better place of understanding and moving forward. So let's continue. Now, sometimes you don't get resolutions to move on, she says. You can decide that somebody's not right for you and some people are not right for you. You don't need a resolution to move on, which that, in a sense, for me anyways, that is resolving. That's a resolution. The resolution is, either we're going to work it out, or resolution is we're not going to work it out. Either way, resolution is resolute, resolving, getting to a place of ending, whatever that may be. I think the characteristic of that resolution, obviously, is going to maybe be different, but at some point it needs to end. All right. So now you can be indifferent. Exactly. As part of resolution. And that's where I am with some of these girls. I'm neither here or there. But Teresa thinks fans are going to take away more than that. And Teresa often does. So I'll be interested to see if that does line up with my thoughts of what she thinks I'm going to see and what I really do see. She says, you'll see the truth. The mother of four notes. Everything that I've been saying all along has been the truth. I don't lie. I'm not fake. I don't put fake storylines out there. I don't hurt other people's families. If you're a viewer, you've been with me a long time and you'll see that. But other people do that and they do it for storylines. So I'm ready for the truth to be out there. Okay. Well, Teresa, we are too. We are out there. We are ready. I think for the majority of us, if we are open to any kind of understanding, this is the point we're looking for as well. And to be honest with you, I haven't really been, well, as you can see, I have not recapped or reviewed this season at all. And I didn't know if I wanted to or not. But it's been a pretty decent one. Now, what I did do last season is I recapped and reviewed the entire reunion, which was like a 2 or 3 parter. I can't remember which at this point. And that's under my live tab. So obviously that's last year, so you may not be too interested. But if you're looking for some information that kind of dredged itself into this season, then of course it is okay to go back there and take a look if you're interested in the highlights of what really continued to perpetuate every season. Sometimes people may think, oh, well, it happened a couple months ago, so it doesn't matter, or happened last season, didn't matter. It actually does matter because it's a continual of why we're where we are. And if you don't resolve things or get to an end of something, it continues to fester in other ways and always gets referred back to in the current time. So Again, if you are looking for a little bit of a refresher, if you needed it or wanted it, I definitely have that available as well. And so because of that, I'm thinking I'm probably going to do a recap review of the reunion this year as well, because I think that enough of us know what's going on, and I'll do a bit of a brief on at least the highlights of everything, and then we'll definitely just get into the reunion itself. So yeah, I'm looking for all of that kind of resolution myself. And hopefully at some point we will definitely see that. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next sharing, which is Andy Cohen apparently confirming that RHONJ is getting a reboot. Says all fresh faces may be coming. Now, is that going to be everybody? Is it going to be some people? We'll see how that goes. I actually will say offhand, I'm going to be sad to see, majority of the people going. I was of the mindset and the feeling that I really wish Teresa and Melissa would have a true sit down and be able to come together in order to continue to film in the way that we have it with the ladies that we have now. But I feel like also at the same time that their issues are so deep-seated and deep-rooted and long and old, and prior to them, either one of them being on the show, that there's probably no real way to get to that point. So it's unfortunate. I really wish that for them. I enjoy both of them on this show. Often many people feel like it's going to be one or the other, and that very well may be, because I think a lot of people are split in between camps. I don't think there's a huge percentage of us who kind of can go either way, but really want it to be, where they can just kind of come together. If I am wrong about that, then, I'm happy about that, because I think there is definitely room for growth on both sides. And so I would love to know your respectable thoughts in the comment section about that. Some may feel like, hey, look, no, there's nothing you can do here. One's on one side, one's on the other side, and it's just done. And that may very well be what it is. But I feel what I take from that alone is that one of the other, if not both, are not going to be on next season. So I guess we'll be here to see that, but we'll see. But it will be interesting. I know Melissa seems to be very much at peace with that decision, because she's already alluded to it, and not really even alluded, just been direct about it, that she understood how things go, and she, loves the opportunity. She appreciates the opportunity, but she understands that, the decision is not hers. And she's actually shared that in interviews, like I've shared here in this video, as well as on Watch What Happens Live, if you happen to catch it, just like last week, I believe, where she was really just at ease and at a calm in a sense about that. And at the end of the day, it's just been hard. Their real life dramas, obviously are probably amped up even more because of being on the show and people taking sides and people, feeling the need to put their opinions and thoughts on things, and maybe some of them feeling that I'm not getting my real thoughts across, and that could be from both sides. And then you have others who can see these things for what they are. Also can tell, look, family dynamics are tricky at best, and sometimes can be very intolerable. And maybe there was some hope that by bringing them, also I think was attached with some messiness, but maybe there was also some hope, if there was any silver lining in it, that if maybe you brought both these families to the forefront, they could see themselves through the eyes of the audience and their fans and other people about maybe certain things that they were doing or interacting, that if someone else says, as a step out, maybe you shouldn't have made that comment, or shouldn't have did this thing, or can't you see the way this person feels? I think that maybe that would have been a silver lining, coming together and really as a unifying force in understanding. And it would have been great therapy for them, obviously, because that's really what this turned out to be, if allowed to be that. So it's unfortunate that we're still in the place that we are. And I think that they're in a worse place than they were, to be honest with you. There was a couple of seasons there where there was some camaraderie between Melissa and Teresa, and then it got obliterated yet again. And a lot of outside forces may have had something to do with it, or, benefited from it. But it's also because the deep-rooted seated issues were not addressed, or not able to come to a point of resolution, whether we're going to go or stay. So, as we all know, family situations, dynamics are tricky, can be tricky. And if you're in a situation where you don't experience those types of things in your own family, then consider yourself lucky, because it can be very, very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching situation. And for them, it's amplified because the whole world, or at least all those who watch and have watched over the years, get to see it in full frontal, right? So let's go ahead and get into the sharing. It was according to page 6, Andy Cohen confirming that there will be a reboot and all faces might be fresh faces coming our way. It says this might actually be a goodbye to the Garden State girls. After weeks of speculation, Bravo honcho Andy Cohen confirmed that the Real Housewives of New Jersey is getting a reboot. Have you heard that we're going to do big changes to the show? Cohen 56 had told an Andy Cohen Live Sirius XM radio show caller. He said this on Monday that people who had complained about the current season storylines. We are rebooting the show, he assured the disgruntled fan, reiterating we're going to reboot it. We're going to do something different, because there's definitely a need or feel to save the show. Now, interrupting the women who continued complaining, Cohen said, we're going to see what we do. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe just all fresh faces. Now, the current cast consists of series OG Teresa, her estranged sister-in-law Melissa, Jennifer Aiden, Margaret Josephs, Dolores Catana, Danielle Cabral, Rachel Fuda, and in addition to friends Jackie Goldschneider and Jennifer Fessler. Now, this isn't the first time a fan has suggested Cohen bring fresh faces in and get rid of all of the negativity. He says, I agree, he told a caller last week who argued that the show needs a rebrand. We're going to figure something out. We promised the fan. We are all on the same page about that. Page 6 had recently caught up with Gorga, who had insisted she's on board with the shakeup. The current cast consists again of all the ladies that I have shared with you. That was a bit of a refresher to that. Now, page 6 had also confirmed, along with many other sources, last month that a traditional reunion wasn't happening this season. We talked a little bit again about that as a refresher in this video, due to several feuds among the divisive cast. Instead, the women reportedly filmed 2 watch parties to view the upcoming season 14 finale, which was described to us as intense and separate rooms. So we're going to see how that goes. She says, listen, I'm excited, or he says, listen, I'm excited for what's to come. I think we are due for some type of change. She had told us last week, actually, that was Melissa. She says, I don't know what kind of change, but I was excited, or I am excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see what's next and where the show goes from here. At the time, Gorga admitted she hadn't heard anything about what the network had planned to do with the series, explaining, my guess is as good as yours. Now, of course, season OG, Teresa had been photographed at a episode of WWHL and her estranged sister-in-law within the sharing, and it was just really sad because it was like, they were together, they seemed like they were okay, and we just really want those days back, or at least a springboard for some kind of real reconciliation. Now, instead, the women reportedly filmed 2 watch parties to view the upcoming season 14 finale, and of course described it as intense in separate rooms. Now, Gorga, 45, was joined by Joseph Fuda, which we shared in the last sharing, also with Rachel, Danielle, Jennifer Fessler, and then Teresa watched it with Aiden and Jackie, which I find it to be interesting that the majority of the ladies were really in one room, and only the 3, Jennifer, Teresa, and Jackie, friends of the show, stayed in that other room. And I always had a thought that maybe Dolores and Jennifer Fessler, because they seem to be the neutral or trying to be the neutral, but they would run back and forth between the rooms. So I guess that will be yet to remain to be seen, but they're not mentioning that right at this point. Now, Dolores says, who has stayed friends with everyone, popped into both rooms. There you go. Now, once viewers see the finale, she decided to forego the traditional reunion. Will make even more sense why they did that. A source had told them last month and have been talking about that pretty much all throughout, because it's been such a point of contention as to what and where and how we're going to close this season out. And quite frankly, I think Andy was just tired of the fighting, because their reunions get very, very, very toxic and very petty and all of those things. I mean, he's been pushed down. He's had, moments of where he's had to really tell people to stop it. So this will give him a bit of a break as well. And maybe, that'll be the closure needed as well. So let's go ahead and move into our next sharing. Let's see. And that actually is going to be the last sharing for this video. Now, according to Collider.com, someone had decided to put something together as a little bit of a, let's see how this could possibly work, if it could work, into how we can maybe come up with a scenario to change how Real Housewives of New Jersey looks. Okay, so big picture of this sharing is that the drama on season 14 of RHONJ put the future of the franchise in limbo due to a fractured cast. Now, of course, that fracturing has been ongoing for quite some seasons, but it started to really reveal itself in season 13. And I feel like this season was supposed to be that season to see if they could kind of come together on their own or make that decision if what they're going to move forward with. And I think they finally got their answer, even if they're not sharing it in detail with us. He says another point of big picture would be bringing back the original cast members like Jacqueline or Dina could possibly save the show from decline. Mind you, that's just two faces, either replacing two other people, which I don't know who that would be, but just bringing those two elements. Because as you recall, if you're RHONJ watcher, it was very family oriented with the Jersey cast in the original first sets of ladies. They were all family, right? Except Danielle, Danielle Staub, who was kind of the villain of the show. Started off as a friend and then she became a villain quickly. Now, another point of big picture for this particular, what if kind of moment is that the past relationships and drama between the original cast members hold the key to revitalizing the series. So kind of like bringing it back to basics, right? Going back to where it all started and began. How can we repair from there? So let's get into their thought of how this could work out. So now season 14 of The Real Housewives of New Jersey has caused so much tension that the future of the franchise is in complete limbo. After years of animosity, tension, and drama like never before, the current state of The Real Housewives of New Jersey has proved that a fractured cast can alter how the show is viewed. Yes, viewers love seeing drama, but they also need some reprieve from the constant bickering and talking down. And one of the few ways to salvage The Real Housewives of New Jersey may be to look into the past and invite the OGs back. The Real Housewives of New Jersey has been entertaining fans since 2009. Following the lavish lives of the women in the Garden State, The Real Housewives of New Jersey has brought constant drama and some of the most memorable moments in the entire The Real Housewives cinematic universe. With Teresa as the only remaining original cast member, the series has featured new women in the mix that have fed into the various ongoing storylines. Now, with the Teresa-Melissa saga reaching its tipping point, the lingering effects have caused a massive domino effect. It's time to spot the cascade and reinvigorate the show that launched 1,000 memes. Now, why the past is important for the future? Well, when The Real Housewives of New Jersey first debuted, the series focused on a large Italian family. See, and now I felt that was what made the show really, truly very charming. And there's some of those familiar faces there. Now, when it was the Manzo family, the main cast included Caroline Manzo, her sister Dina Manzo, and their sister-in-law Jacqueline Laurita. Pulling inspiration from big Jersey families on television like The Sopranos, this clan became the center of the show. Caroline and Dina were married to brothers Albert Manzo and Tommy Manzo, respectively. Jacqueline is married to Caroline and Dina's brother, Chris Laurita. And in addition to the Manzo family, the series also featured a much more mellow Teresa Duducci and the first villain of the Garden State, Danielle Staub. Now, in those early seasons, The Real Housewives of New Jersey watched how television amplified family drama. In recent memory, many viewers have been familiar with the drama of the Gorgas and the Duduccis, but the first family was splintering came from the Manzos. For this family, many of them decided that it was best for them to pull the plug on being on television if there were any hope of salvaging any relationships. As time has gone by, even time away from the screen hasn't been best for their family. With the new version of The Real Housewives of New Jersey in desperate need, perhaps it's time for a comeback. Could a return from someone like Jacqueline or Dina revitalize the series? And I would love to know your thoughts on that. So as we continue to go through this particular sharing and what this scenario could look like, I want to know what you feel respectfully down in the comment section. So please do share. All right, so let's move on to that next viewing. So let's go on with Miss Jacqueline herself, and just want to make that more clear for you to see. So now Jacqueline Laurita has the key to some secrets. When The Real Housewives of New Jersey began, the women of the cast were exactly what the program called for. They defined the real in the title. These were real women sharing their lives and families for our entertainment. For Jacqueline Laurita, she was one of the truest and most authentic cast members. She may have had an unattainable life with money, but there was something about her that was relatable. She spent much of her time wanting to believe the truth within the friend group, and she felt the pain when she was betrayed. She shared her beautiful family with the world, which allowed her to become an incredible spokesperson on autism because of her youngest son, Nicholas. Now, Jacqueline remained with the show for 5 seasons before leaving and returning a season later. She said it would be for good, but Jacqueline is quite aware of where all the bodies are buried. Since Bravo celebrities have lives beyond the screen through the media, Jacqueline has recently been making headlines about some of those secrets she's been holding on to. Now, when Jacqueline left after season 7, she did not leave on good terms with Teresa. After time apart, the two have rekindled their friendship, having reunited in Las Vegas in 2023. Another kind of reunion of reconciliation happened in 2023, BravoCon to be exact, that was in Las Vegas, was Real Housewives of Orange County's Tamra Judge and Alexis Bellino. Now, continuing on here, Jacqueline and her family live in California now, but her long distance friendship with Teresa seems to be thriving. She had even had a message for those concerned about her regarding this friendship. She has stated, "We are enjoying ourselves. To the people that are genuinely concerned that Teresa is using me and or that she'll hurt me again, I appreciate your concern, but please stop worrying." Despite living blissfully in California, she states that she is in a different stage in her life, but could a plea from Andy Cohen and Co help convince her to return to the show in some capacity? As they say, money talks. Now, while some fans and critics believe that the rekindling of this friendship is due to her desire to return, perhaps another run on the show may actually be in Teresa's favor. With Teresa losing allies left and right, Teresa could use an old friend who had displayed loyalty to her like very few had before. While Jacqueline is on the same page as Teresa about Melissa, Jacqueline has never been seen as malicious. But surely a little coercing from her new old friend could rattle the narrative. Jacqueline has recently come clean about blaming Melissa Gorga and Joe Gorga for the initial rift. Take it for what it is. On Teresa's podcast, Jacqueline revealed that with the people in her ear, she felt that it was important to unite the families to make filming better. But it backfired and pushed Teresa away from her. Yet their reconciliation has allowed them to pick off where they left off. With Jacqueline against Melissa, a reprisal on the show could benefit Teresa. But does it benefit the viewers to rehash the family drama that has seemingly ended? Or maybe she'll cross over to the Real Housewives of Orange County since that's her new zip code. I don't know. I think I would prefer Jacqueline to make her way back to Real Housewives of New Jersey, even if it's just in the summertime or whatever time they film. Then she can go back to California and enjoy that California sun, because spending a lot of years of California and living in California myself, that sun is beautiful. Now, perhaps the most surprising development of this newfound re-friendship is how now, this one I thought was interesting when they delved into this one. So let's pop her up here. If you remember, this is Miss Jacqueline's daughter. So here we go. Jacqueline's daughter, Ashley Holmes, feels about it. She's letting them be, but she knows they're all adults. And so is Ashley, by the way. We saw, her somewhat semi-grow up on the show a little bit, but she's fully adult herself. So let them be, even though her mom is Team Jacqueline, okay? Ashley is Team Melissa. Now, I think what it is Jacqueline is Team Teresa and Ashley is Team Melissa. I think that's what that's supposed to be saying. And of course, she's her team, her mom, right? So she's with her mom no matter what. Or at least that's who her personality vibes with. Ashley has always been a unique character on the show. While kids were very much off limits for most of the 14 seasons, Ashley was never shy in getting involved in the drama. So some of y'all who might mention, and I've even mentioned it myself, when you see a lot of, oh gosh, I can't think of Gia, but I think that there's a difference, I think, almost in how it seems that Gia comes across and how Ashley came across back then. But I can understand the comparison situation being, well, they shouldn't have been involved either way. But the storylines and what was happening and all of that was very, very different. And it made a lot of sense, I felt, when Ashley would step in. It was definitely a very different vibe. Let's put it that way. So different scenarios, but I can see how someone could say, well, it should go for both, and maybe it could have, just depends on where you sit on that. Now, this development could amplify just how complicated family drama is if mother and daughter can't even get on the same page. How can the viewers really know who to support? Well, I guess we'll support who we know and see has been true blue, right? All right. So now we're moving on to Miss Dina. Basically, Dina Manzo has always been a sleeper for drama, right? And she was one of my favorite passive aggressive, kind of got in there and then, but at the same time, love and light, don't want to deal with all the drama, but will put you in a place if need be. So now Dina Manzo, now going by Dina Canton, was one of the very first divisive characters on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. You either loved or hated her. She was very much a tell it like it is woman, but she also didn't seem to have the desire to become a reality star. And that's where I see that difference too. But she has some really good comebacks and some good quirks as well, like the wearing me on your skin type thing. It was really funny. Her time on the program was quite rocky, especially due to her relationships with her sister Caroline and her sister-in-law Jacqueline, which in the beginning, everything seemed to be copacetic, but things started to take a turn as time went on, as lots of relations do at times. Now, time heals all wounds, but unlike Joe and Teresa, Dina felt it better to sever ties altogether. Dina lasted 2 seasons on the program before departing. She did make a shocking return for season 6, but it was still not the journey she wanted to be on. Despite being far away from the show, her time in the headlines had recently given her a resurgence in the conversation about returning to the program. The mobster-related charges that may seem something that is straight out of a mafia movie, but these things do happen. Dina has said she is cleansed and disconnected from the past that drained her, but the headlines have continued to haunt her. Now, like her sister-in-law, Dina has moved to the West Coast for a new life with her husband, Dave Canton. She continues to live a happy life. So what could bring her back to the show that she vowed to never return to? The opportunity to save the show that made her. There's just one snag, though, to this potential. When Jacqueline rekindling her bond with Teresa, Dina has yet to rekindle her relationship with Jacqueline, but that's been something that's been ongoing. The newest development has been the complicated relationship between Dina and Teresa. Their fallout may have commenced during the bridal partygate, with many names being included in the bridal party. Others note the fans speculated where their relationship stood. It may just have been, as Teresa had stated, that Dina just didn't want to be in a toxic situation of New Jersey. She's moved on from that life. But when Teresa speaks, sometimes it's not the truth. This is according to the sharing. Is there something more going on between Teresa and Dina? Teresa needs to keep all ducks in a row, and perhaps with someone who doesn't want to be in the spotlight, she can use the media's attention to spin their relationship to how it would benefit her narrative, meaning Teresa, right? If there's nothing coming out of this, maybe this will be okay for her. All right. So now we can see how a new reboot of The Real Housewives of New Jersey proceed with Teresa at the center of Dina and Jacqueline returning. Well, if something sparks their desire, a newfound family drama could reignite. And this time, it would have nothing to do with Joe and Melissa. As seen with Danielle Cabral and Jennifer Aiden, Teresa loves to try to fix problems that have little hope of fixing. Despite being estranged, could Teresa bring the Manzo family back together? Can she be the mediator that unites Jacqueline and Caroline with Dina? And crazier things have happened. So while the chances of this scenario are likely nearly impossible, it would be a great change of pace for the show. The nostalgic factor would save the show by incorporating all storylines and new situations, and fans would love to see everyone living happily ever after. But if drama could unfold on screen, chances are they'd much prefer that option. A little bit of nice nasty when it comes to the Real Housewives, if you will, right? And a point of where we can kind of go out there a little bit and then come back together in some kind of harmony is always a desired result, I think, for some of these things. So, of course, I would love to know your thoughts of all these sharings. We have talked quite in depth in different areas, all angling around Real Housewives of New Jersey and really where we see it heading and where the potentials lie. So definitely leave your respectful comments down below. I would love to know how you are feeling, what your thoughts are about these different sharings. So some of the things, as this a brief recap that we talked about, of course, is we talked about Andy Cohen sharing about a possible reboot to the show and how fresh faces all around is a possibility. Maybe a few, maybe all, we don't know. He also shared about his take on possibly Kathy being one of those fresh faces coming to the new season. Is that possible, being that she has that same issue with the, the cousin and family dynamic? Are we here to see another feud that we may not want to be here for? Who knows? We also got to hear a little bit of Melissa's thoughts about, not only the snarky comments that were left by Kathy on Watch What Happens Live, but also about whether or not what's going to happen with the show and how she feels about it, understanding that she's at a real good place, that either she can be there or not be there, and it's okay. She's not looking for there to be anything there other than for her to show up where she needs to. And, we also talked about Teresa and some of the other ladies feeling very happy about how this finale comes about and where it really shows how and what is going to happen. We're going to see the truth that Teresa shares. Jennifer seems to feel good about it. Dolores has said a little bit about she feels good about certain things that's come to fold. Are we as a viewers going to feel good about it? Who knows? Leave those comments down below, your thoughts about that, how you think that's going to unveil. And then lastly, some of the scenarios that they've shared about possibly what it may look like to bring back OGs. We talk about that with a lot of the other Real Housewives as well. In particular, Real Housewives of Atlanta. We talk about it often that it would be nice to see Nene come back, and definitely want Phaedra to come back. And by the way, Phaedra is coming back. We'll talk a little bit about that in a later video as well. I've got some thoughts about that, and I'm excited about it, of course. And I definitely want to get your feeling, your opinions about it too. So there's always been conversation. Real Housewives of Orange County had that same conversation. This is why Tamra Judge is back on the show again 2 seasons ago, right? So what does it look like when you bring back OGs that were beloved for the show or just good for the show? How does that change things? Could it save the actual franchise? Or are we really ready for just an all-out all different ladies? I'm more of the nostalgia piece of it all. I'm not ready for a complete reboot. It's interesting, for New York, I was ready for that. I think New York just got so out of whack and so off kilter. And I had been tired and done with New York Real Housewives for years. Quite frankly, there was a few ladies that I liked, but I never really collectively felt any kind of, interest in watching the show and keeping up with it as I did maybe some of the other franchises. So when they came to saying that they're going to reboot the whole thing, I had already felt that, and maybe like some others, that it was time. It was really, really time. And I think it was a successful reboot. But do I think that that's something that should go with this situation? I don't know. And so I feel like there's still life and more story to tell with these ladies. And I would like to see, I want to see Margaret's situation and journey with her family and the dynamics of her husband that's playing out right now and how his health is going to be. I want to see that. I like Danielle. This season has been really eye-opening for me for Danielle Cabral. I like her a lot. And I want to see how she navigates, with her businesses and her family dynamics. Is she going to reconcile with her brother? Is that possible? Are we going to see reconciliation with her father in front of the camera? We know something's happened behind the scenes. I want to see those types of things, right? I think that those are really helpful things for people who watch as viewers. So yeah, I really did enjoy sharing these stories with you and my thoughts. And I really do hope that you will do the same. And of course, if you are new here and you haven't subscribed, I hope that you will go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become part of the family, because I would love to have you. And we have got some new family members that have been here and subscribed to the channel. So I want to welcome you again. And thank you so much for being part of the family here. I'm so happy to have you. And for those of you who have already been rocking with me, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your viewing support. And definitely, I will be back for another video. So go ahead and make sure that all notification bell is on so you do not miss it. Thank you again so much for being here. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And again, I will see you next time. Bye.